All right. Good morning. Good morning. How are you all doing? This beautiful fourth day of February 2025. Hope you're well. Karibuni sana. Karibuni sana to the Forex Daily Analysis, especially for those that are joining us for the first time. Ever we do this each and every morning, Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. So feel free to join us, same time, same place, and you will find us here. For the sake of guys who are back here again, also welcome. Hope that you're getting a lot in terms of your trading. And of course, we're always happy when we hear about your progress. So also feel free to always share, your feedback to us. Our contact details are there. And of course, reaching out to us shouldn't be that hard. We will try and make ourselves as available as we can be. So John is my name. I'm a trader with Afriforex. Afriforex is a trading unit, so it's not a one-man show. We do have the rest of the team here. So in case you do have any questions, feel free to ask them on the chat box. The team will definitely be getting back to you, but I will also be looking at the questions also on the chat box, but towards the very tail end of this session. But you don't really need to wait until the very end. You still can end up hitting us up, and we will try and give you a much favorable response. So we're going to jump straight into it. We'll start off by looking at the watch list. That's where we always begin. So you can't see the watch list today. It's right there. So just one change on the Canadian dollar based on what we had yesterday. So you can't see the Canadian dollar has joined the buy side of things, but everything else does end up remaining. We'll see how things end up working out. So we can start off by looking at the currency pairs that we did have yesterday that unfortunately did not make it onto our watch list this morning. So we'll start off with the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. So you can see the three regions right there that Mitch had pointed out. And in the morning, price was somewhere here. So we wanted to see whether we could have gotten some sort of a reaction, of the sellers within this region here to possibly end up executing some sales. Unfortunately, the sellers were just not interested. You can see that the market was moving sideways. To some extent, it seemed that the big sellers did start to show up during the New York Stock Exchange Open, but you can see that the buyers also came up quite aggressive and the market really held to the upside. And there was also this region right here that Mitch had pointed out. Maybe could have gotten some sort of a reaction. There was a small reaction, but nothing to write home about. We wanted to see the market make lower lows and lower highs, and unfortunately, that just wasn't the case. So, fortunately, moving into today, not really a currency pair that we will be trying to see whether we can trade. So the next one, the Great British Pound against the Canadian dollar. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. And you can see the three areas that he had pointed out, and also some illustration of what to expect. So you can see in the morning price was somewhere here. I wanted to see whether we could have gotten the price coming back in within this region, maybe give us some sort of a price action signal, or something of the sort within that area there, before we possibly end up executing some buying opportunities. But you can see that the market just tapped within this region a number of times. Then after that, took off to the upside. You look at 4, can see that there was some sort of a week that did happen within here. The market went up, then came back down within this region once again. And you can see that the market took off again. So this one was a bit messy, in as much as the buying opportunities were best to take place within that region there. But grabbing the opportunity was a different story. It was a bit messy, maybe unless looking at the smaller time frame, maybe to try see whether you could get the detail of what was going on that one. But I was also timing buying opportunities on that one, but it was a bit hard to end up getting them. So moving on into the next one. This is the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one yesterday, we were trying to see whether we could have gotten some sales. Can't see the three areas that Mitch had pointed out, also an illustration of what to expect. So in the morning, price was here. We're expecting price to come back in within here and give us something to possibly end up picking the sales. The sales did work out during the London session, because you can see like from 11, the market was coming down, bounced off this area at 4. It was back within this region here, and of course, moving into 5:30 or thereabout. You can see that price was back within here and off this region. The buyers did push the market to the upside. So I guess this one only gave one selling opportunity. And of course, during the London session, that was it. During the US session, we were back within some sort of a buyer's region. And it's not surprising to see that the buyers did actually end up reacting off that area there. But unfortunately for us today, not really a currency pair. We will be trying to see whether we can trade. So last but not least, we do have the US dollar against the Canadian dollar. So for this one, Yesterday, we were trying to see whether we could have gotten some buys. So you can see the three areas right there that Mitch had pointed out, also some illustrations of what to expect. So in the morning, price was here. We're expecting the pullback to come in. The pullback came in, but unfortunately, the buyers are just not interested. With hitting the buys off here, you can see that there was no visual sign of any big buyer there. The price came in lower. You can see that even within this region here, in as much as there was this week, some sort of a dodging that did end up happening within that area there, but there wasn't really anything worth writing home about. Because I mean, when the big boys do end up showing up, when you end up seeing weeks, it ends up being questionable whether that's the big boy. Because you should be asking yourself, who's pushing against your big boy. So unfortunately for us on that one, also wasn't much to write home in terms of the market going up. But I guess the Canadian dollar pairs yesterday had a bit of an issue. And of course, today we have switched sides with them. So before we do look at the currency pairs for today and what the game plan is going to be looking like on the currency pairs for today, let's look at a couple of screenshots that we did get yesterday. So we'll start off with this one from Bravin. So Bravin, shout out to you if you're watching. This is on silver. So I can see that you got a buying opportunity or some two good buying opportunities. One down here and one somewhere within here. If you got this one on the pullback when the market was just starting to come up, that was good. And I can see that this one definitely seems like you possibly got to when the market pulled back in within there, which was good. And I can see that the stop losses for both your trades are somewhere within that region there. So that's some really good trading, good in terms of entry and also in terms of money management. So keep up the good work, Bravin. I'm always happy to see your progress. So keep those screenshots coming. So we also did get a screenshot from George. So this is on the euro against the US dollar. So I can see that you got a buying opportunity somewhere within here. And of course, if you got the buy when the market pulled back in and gave some sort of a retest here, then I guess this was a very good entry. So you got the buy, the market started to move to the upside, stop loss high up within this region here, which is okay. But also, I think the best area to have your stop loss would be somewhere beneath this region here or somewhere here, just trying to hide your stop loss behind this buyer who's pushing up, because where your stop loss is, it's almost more or less within the line of fire. So you could easily find that the market could pull back in tap within this area and go up. And at that point in time, definitely your stop loss would definitely end up getting clipped. But in terms of entry, and of course, in terms of the attempt, I would give it to you. So that one was really well done. So shout out to you, George, and of course, keep up the good work. So we also did get some screenshots from Metrin. Metrin, good to see that you're still in the game. So this is on the US 30, the Dow Jones. So I can see that you got some two good selling opportunities on this one. One high up within there and an additional one there. Stop losses for your trades within this region here. I don't know where you are targeting, but hopefully you're watching out for these regions here. Definitely seems like areas where buyers would possibly give you issues. So this is not too bad, but where you put your stop loss, I guess maybe in terms of risk mitigation, immediately the market starts to move in your favor, then you've already put your stop loss beneath your point of entry, which is okay, but maybe somewhere within this area would be okay, because you could find that the market could also come back in within this area, maybe for some sort of a retest before, continuing to come down. But in terms of the attempt, that's some really good trading. So shout out to you, Metrin, and of course, keep up the good work. And you also did get the NAS 100. So I can see that you got some two good buying opportunities on this one. So I can see that you got one buy there and one buy somewhere within this region here, and another buy right at the top within that area right there. So that buy at the top may be a bit risky, because of course, in terms of reading the pullback that's happening here, you can already see that there are some sort of wicks that are already happening within this area, which means that maybe the buyers are possibly getting, into the territory of the opposite party, and that's why you're starting to see that. So that buy at the top a bit risky, but good to see that at least once you've got the trade, already your stop loss is above your point of entry. So good to see that all the trades are well managed. Of course, the stop losses can also all be together, especially for these two fast trades, maybe somewhere within this region here, just to make sure that you also end up securing a bit more, because you can imagine that if the market were to come down all the way, take this trade out and then continue coming down, then this trade would actually end up being the biggest loser, because you'd actually end up giving up so much. But in terms of the attempts, that's really good. Like we always say, the only way to learn how to trade is to actually trade. So just keep on going, keep on pushing. And of course, in due time, and of course, with every trade that you take, you're definitely becoming much better and better. So we're happy to see your trades. So shout out to Bravin, George, Metrin. Keep up the good work. And of course, guys, remember sending in your screenshots is open to anyone. It's not a preserve for some people and not for other people. So feel free to send them in to us. Our contact details should be there. You can feel free to send them in to us via WhatsApp, and we'll give you the much needed shout out. And of course, if we see something that maybe you can end up changing, then we'll also end up giving you that much needed advice. So shifting gears into matters today. So the watch list for today is right there. So you can see Tuesday the 4th of February 2025. That's what we're going to be looking at. So we're going to start off by mixing and matching up the Australian dollar pairs with everything on the buy side, move on to the euros, the New Zealand dollar pairs, then we'll finish off with the indices and the commodities like we always do. So we're going to start off with the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one, yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. So you can see the three regions right there that Mitch had pointed out. Also some illustrations of what to expect as well. So unfortunately, our expectations were not fully met. So in the morning, price was here. We wanted to see a sign of the big sellers here. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. The market continued to rally up quite aggressively, and you can see that there was some sort of a slowdown that started to happen within this region. But you can see that at around 5:30, the market gave a quick sell coming down, just tapping within this region, but the buyers were able to retaliate also quite fast. Could have been a bit tricky to end up grabbing that trade coming down, but like we always say, I mean, if you do end up getting the trade for one reason or another, make sure that you're on top of your money management, especially when the market starts to hit strategic levels, because you can see, like, for example, on this one, you only had one chance to manage your trade, and you always need to make sure that you're watching out for your exits as much as you're watching out for your entries, because if you start to deliberate and start to negotiate with the market and the price is down here, you only get one chance. If you don't take that chance and actually manage your trade, then you can definitely see that the market within this situation turned around quite fast. So make sure that you're also on top of things in terms of money management. So for this one for today, we're still going to be trying to see whether we can get some sells. These are the three areas that we have mapped out. Right now, in terms of looking for the sells might not be the best of ideas. So it's either the market breaks beneath this region to the downside, and maybe we do get some attempts of the buyers to actually push to the upside, which actually end up being unsuccessful, and the market holds beneath this region to the downside. We will definitely be looking for selling opportunities at that point in time. Alternatively, right now things were holding just above or within a buyer's region. You can see that the buyers pushed to the upside here yesterday. They can do that again, and you can see that there's also some sort of a weak, maybe some sort of an inside bar within this region here. You could easily find that the buyers could react, and you could find that maybe during the US session, price might be back within this region here. If that does end up happening, then at least we could potentially try and see whether we can get some selling opportunities higher up within this region. So just make sure that you really do watch out for that. Be patient. Like we always point out, the best trades don't easily show up. Patience is key. So, we say when you're patient in trading, you actually end up getting paid. When you're impatient, then you're definitely going to be paying the markets. So just make sure that you do actually end up practicing some patience. So moving on into the next one, this is the Great British Pound against the Australian dollar. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. So you can see the three areas right there that Mitch had pointed out. So in the morning, price was here, and wanted to see some sort of a reaction within this area right here before we do end up jumping in on buying opportunities. And if that didn't happen, then there was also this region right here that we were watching out for. So in the morning, price came down, came to the upside, the sellers came down, and when the price came back in within this region, you can see that there was some sort of two probes within this region here before the market started to move to the upside. So this is a trade that I did actually end up getting, although unfortunately I didn't get all the way till the top. You can see that there was a big fight that was really going on within this region here. So I got the buy somewhere within this region, and the market came back to the upside. I was targeting all the way high up within there, hoping to get maybe like a 1:3.87, but I knew that there was a problem somewhere within this region right here. So I set the alert somewhere within there. And you can see that also this one is almost similar to the previous setup that we looked at, where I talked about, you only get one chance. So when the market came up within this region, that's when I got the alert, and you can't see that that's exactly where the price was when I took this screenshot. And immediately after I took it, I did manage the trade, also moved the stop loss up higher. So when the market came down, unfortunately, it hit my stop loss, but it's okay. Like we always say, a break-even exit is better than a loss any day, and I take that any single day. So you can see that the market tapped there, came back down, and after that, you can see that the market really struggled. There wasn't much in terms of the market moving to the upside. So I guess today we'll just have to end up trying our luck once again and see whether we will be a bit or we'll possibly end up getting a bit more luck today. So the levels are the same for this one. Let's see what happens. Right now, the market is just coming back to the upside. You can see that these sellers right here who push the market down aggressively, the buyers have come up. You can see a wick that's happening there, which means that they're definitely, these sellers who are definitely attempting to push the market to the downside. But let's see how far they can end up going. If they end up being unsuccessful in their attempt and the market does actually end up pulling back to the upside and we do actually hold above here, I think that might potentially be a very good buying opportunity. So let's see what happens. Hopefully today we'll get all the way till the top, but you'll still need to watch out for this region right here, because you can see that a bunch of sellers yesterday were giving the buyers issues here. So you should also be expecting that on your way up. So just make sure that you also do factor that in at the back of your mind. So let's see what happens. Also watch out for the region at the bottom. In case the market finds its way there, then also be ready for that. But that's going to be the last area where we will be attempting our aggressive buying opportunities. So moving on into the next one. This is the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some sells. Can't see the three areas there. In the morning, price was somewhere here. We wanted price to come back in within this region. It did. You can see that from around 11 during the London market open, the price did actually start to come to the downside, although in a very choppy manner. But eventually, even if it did struggle, it eventually did actually get down to within this region right here. And you can see that from around 5:30, that's when the market did actually bounce off this area to the upside quite aggressively. And you can see that the buyers continued pushing the market up all the way to within this region at the top here. So let's see if today we'll get a proper sell that does actually end up working out maybe even faster than what we did see yesterday, because the sellers yesterday were really struggling. You can see some sign of big sellers coming in within here, and you can see that the buyers pushed up, the market went up, maybe just went up higher than that. Maybe the sellers needed that price. You can see that the market came to the downside, the big sellers showed up, but you can see that it stopped back within this buyers region right here. And you can see that the buyers have retaliated and the market is going back to the upside. So let's wait and see if we can get the market slowing down within here. There's a possibility you could find some probes happening within here, maybe when the market might tap in higher than that. But generally, you want to see the market at least come to the downside and actually hold within here before you attempt any selling opportunities. So make sure that you watch out for that. Watch out for the times. Remember, in case the market breaks and holds above the red SNR to the upside, then unfortunately, there will be no trade for us. So the next one, the Australian dollar against the US dollar. So for this one, yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities as well. Can't see the three areas and also an illustration or illustrations of what to expect. Unfortunately, the expectations were not quite met. So you can see that the price came in there. There was really nothing to tell us to look for sales within that region, went up higher. And you can see that also within this region, there was really nothing to tell us to look for selling opportunities. So let's see if today we will be a bit more lucky. So these are the three areas we will be watching out for. You can see that also for this one, we're more or less within some sort of a buyer's region, and the market has come back in to bounce or to possibly attack these buyers who are sitting here. Let's see what does end up happening. Unless the market breaks to the downside and we get confirmation that the market has broken, to the downside, then you should be sitting on your hands on this one. So just make sure that you do wait. Alternatively, you could find that the market could continue to rally up, maybe all through the London session. Maybe you could find the market back within here during the US session. And at least if that does end up happening, then we potentially could try and see whether we could get selling opportunities there. So watch out for that. Also watch out for the red SNR. Remember, in case the market breaks and holds above that region to the upside, then unfortunately, at that point in time, there will be no trade for us. But at least if it does incite, some buyers, especially if it breaks to the upside, all the breakout traders jump in, then the market does actually come back into the downside, then at least at that point in time, we know that we can look for selling opportunities, and the opposite party has been invited. All the buyers who are going to be hitting buys when the market breaks above that and they don't wait for the confirmation, at that point in time, their goose is going to be cooked and they're definitely going to be eating their money. So just make sure that you do watch out for that. So last but not least, for the AUD pairs, we do have the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. So for this one, new entrant on our watch list, we will be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities. So those are the three areas we will be watching out for. So just make sure that you do actually take note of them. Can't see that the market has calmed down, but we're back within some sort of a buyer's region. You can't see that the market has actually bounced off here before. Right now, it's just broken to the downside. You can see that there's already been some sort of a probe within this area here that has happened. Let's see what happens when the market comes back in within this area here. And at least if we can get the market maybe even clearing this region, then I guess you're good to go in terms of your selling opportunity or hanging on to yourself. But if you find that you take the sell within there and you just can't break free of this area, you're better off doing some very good money management within here. Then at least if the market does actually break to the downside of this area, you could actually end up scaling in at this point in time, and you potentially could get some very good selling opportunity off this area here coming down. So watch out for that, but also give this market the benefit of doubt. I mean, this being through SNR, and you can't see that the market has actually probed within this area a number of times. If the market does come back into the upside, then best believe this price is going to be coming back, most probably within this region here. And if that does end up happening, then I guess the best selling opportunity might actually end up happening off here, if not this region at the top here. So just make sure that you watch out for that. But this one, unless you're highly skilled in terms of trading, if you're a beginner, this one might be a bit tricky to end up getting, because you could easily end up getting stopped out a number of times, especially trying to squeeze yourself in within that region there. But it doesn't have to try. I mean, that's the reason why you should be having a demo account, especially if you're a beginner. You know, first sharpen your skills before you actually go into the markets and find the big boys, because those guys will show you all sorts of things. So just make sure that you also do end up doing that. And of course, remember, in case you don't have an MT5 account, you can also end up opening one. There should be a link in the video description. And at least that should be something that can actually take your trading to the next level. So that's pretty much it for the AUDs. So we're going to move on to the Euro currency pairs, and we're going to mix and match the Euro with everything on the buy side. So we'll start off with the Euro against the Swiss franc. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. Can't see the three areas right there that Mitch had pointed out, also some illustrations of what to expect. So in the morning, price was here. You can see the fight that was ensuing within this region between the buyers and the sellers, and you can see that the market only gave one chance at around 5:30 or thereabout during the New York Stock Exchange open. Price came down, tapped somewhere within this region here, and that was pretty much it. And you can see that after that, the buyers really pushed the market to the upside. So for this one, we're going to be trying again today to try to see whether we can get something much more clearer. You can see that the sellers have more or less started to fight, but you can see that the buyers are still giving issues. You can see some sort of a probe happening within here. I guess it's these buyers within this region here. So if the market continues to hold above this area here, most potentially you will find that the market would potentially end up coming back up within this region. And you will find that maybe even just trying to close those gaps that had happened over the weekend. So there's a possibility price would still come back in within here. So watch out for that. In case the market breaks and goes to the downside of this area, then I guess at that point in time, we'll try to see whether we could get some sells coming down, but we'll still have to watch out for this area. If we break this region to the downside, I guess we should be good to go. Potentially, you could even end up scaling in within this region to end up going much, much lower. So watch out for that. Also watch out for the times. If there's nothing happening during the London session, just wait and see what happens during the US session. So the next one, the Euro against the Great British Pound. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some sells. So you can see the three areas, also an illustration of what to expect. So in the morning, price was here. We're expecting maybe price to possibly end up showing us something here for us to look for the sells. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. The market tapped, then you can see that it just started its journey coming down. And you can see that within this region, it broke to the downside, pulled back in, within this area for some sort of a retest. You can see that that retest was also quite fast, and it was during the New York stock exchange session. And you can see that it just tapped within that region, came down. So today we've mapped out that region there and also this region at the bottom right here. Let's see if we'll get something clear on this one today. So at least if we can get the buyers pushing the market back as close as possible within this region here, I think that would be a good area to look for the selling opportunities, but also dependent on what happens when the price gets there. So let's see what happens within those three areas there. Maybe the market could start to range. If it does, that's okay. But remember that at least if you do get yourselves as close as possible to the top, that will be much, much better for you in terms of risk management and also in terms of increasing your profit potential, having more range to move to the downside. So the next one, the euro against the Japanese yen. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten sells. Can't see the three areas right there that had been pointed out and what the game plan was. You can't see that the price just came down. Unfortunately, couldn't come back in within there, came down, attempted to break this region to the downside. The buyers retaliated quite aggressively. And you can see that later on, even much, much later on during the US session, the buyers were still attempting to push the market to the upside, maybe trying to close that gap that had happened yesterday. And you can see that today the sellers have started to react. But with this probe right here, especially after the market has bounced off this region right here, it tells us that the buyers are still giving issues. And I think just looking at the rest of the euros, I think you should be able to see that there's also some good correlation in terms of how they're moving, how they've more or less gone back within buyers region and the reactions that are there, from the buyers. So if you see something or slow down on one, just make sure that you also do end up having a look at the others. So for this one, with this probe that seems to be happening within here, I think we'll just have to wait and see what does end up happening. I think there's a possibility the market might actually end up closing that gap properly, because I don't think it's really closed the gap. So you could find the market or price coming back in within here. If it does, then at least we'll try to see whether we can get some proper sales. And I really do hope that it goes to this region high up there, also to give us a bit more profit potential to the downside. Some of us are aggressive, and from the aggressive, we can get some very good risk to rewards, coming down off that area if it was for a buy going up. But of course, remembering that that region is the last area where we will be trying or attempting our last selling opportunities. So moving on into the next one, the euro against the US dollar. So for this one yesterday, we also tried to see whether we could have gotten some sells. It was a bit of a tricky situation, so you can't see what the game plan was. The sells were not really clear. They are not coming through. Let's see if we will be lucky today. So we'll be watching out for this same three areas that we did end up having yesterday. So that region at the top, aggressive, semi-aggressive, conservative, somewhere within this region there, and conservative right at the bottom there. You can't see some sort of similarity with the rest of the euro pairs. Like I pointed out, we're back within a buyer's region. Some sort of a probe seems to be happening. It's not yet confirmed. Let's wait and see whether the market holds within here. But if it does, there's a possibility price might actually end up coming back up, and you could find price back within this region here. So if that does end up happening, I think that could be a good sell coming down. And you can see that there will be more profit potential of the aggressive area coming down. But just making sure that you manage within there. If we do break to the downside, then definitely you can scale in within this region here coming down. So watch out for that. Watch out for the times. And like we always point out, make sure that you also watch out for your risk. Stick within your risk parameters at all times, and also remember to trade with a stop loss at all times. So just to make sure that you do keep your head and your mind in the game, and also just to give you that much duration that you do actually need to actually be in the market for a long time. Because if you do let go of risk, then trust me, you won't last long in this game. So last but not least, on the euro, this is the euro against the Canadian dollar. So for this one, new entrant on our watch list, we will be watching out to see whether we can get sells. The market is backing within some sort of a buyer's region. It might not be the best of ideas to look for the sells now, but if we do get the market breaking this region to the downside, and we do get some proper retest, maybe a hold to the downside, probes, wicks, inside bars, whatever, within here, watching out for the times, could potentially end up getting a very good selling opportunity from there coming down. So watch out for that. But most probably what will happen is that the market might actually end up coming back in within this region here. And I'm really hoping that it does, because if that does end up happening, this is a very good area to look for the sells, even if the market doesn't get all the way to the top. Because with that move coming down, the market did actually end up breaking a key level. Because you can see that within this area, this is something and a level that's visible even on the bigger time frame. So most probably, if you look at how the market started coming down, it broke to the downside, pulled back in within here, gave a retest. So if it did break this region to the downside and the market has started to give some sort of a trend coming down, most probably it will end up coming back in within there. And if that does end up happening, then at least I think the best selling opportunities could actually be somewhere within this region here. So let's just keep our fingers crossed. Let's see what happens. Let's wait and see if our expectations are met. If they are not, then it's also perfectly fine. So that's pretty much it for the euros. So we're going to move on to the New Zealand dollar pairs, which are the last set of currency pairs, and we're going to mix and match them up with everything on the buy side. So we'll start off with the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. So you can see the three regions there that Mitch had pointed out, also illustrations of what to expect. So in the morning, price was here. We're expecting some sort of a price action signal within here, maybe to see a sign of buyers. That did happen. The market went up, just came shy of that. And you can see that the market was just fighting within this region and just moving sideways. There was nothing clear to tell us to execute some selling opportunities. So let's see if today we will be a bit more lucky. Consider the market is attempting to turn around to the downside. The buyers really pushed aggressive, but also I think in a bid to try and really close the gaps that had happened. And this one seems that the gap was closed. The sellers have pushed the market to the downside. If this is some sort of a massive probe, then that would be good. That would mean that most probably there could be a trade that could be happening, maybe within here. And you could easily find the market, especially if it taps off that region, then we do get a price action signal there, and watching out for the times. We could get the market coming down to within this region here. So just make sure that you watch out for that. But there's also this area that you really need to watch out for, especially considering the fact that this does seem like some sort of a probe. You could easily find that the market can also end up bouncing off that region there. So just know that when the market is coming down within here, we're definitely getting into some sort of a buyer's territory. They can end up reacting. You can see the probe is quite clear on this one, on this time frame. So let's just see what happens within here. And of course, you also need to be a real sniper to actually end up getting this trade. But it doesn't have to try. Even if you're intermediate or beginner, it's okay. The only thing I would caution is that if you're going to be attempting a trade within here, let's say the market comes in within there and you're targeting, let's say down within this region here, you can't have your stop loss all the way high up here, because if you do, then you can see that the risk to reward is actually going off. Getting a 1:1 is not very good in terms of trading. So we'll definitely need to end up reading more of the story of what happens within this area here. Try and get your stop loss as tight as possible so that you can get some proper risk to reward coming down. And you can see that a 1:3 is not too bad. So just make sure that you watch out for that. But you'll definitely have to end up reading the story of what happens, on the smaller time frame. So hopefully you've taken note of that. Remember the red SNR at the top, the market can also come back in within there. If it does find its way there, then you should also be ready for that. So moving on into the next one, this is the Great British Pound against the New Zealand dollar. So for this one, yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buys. Can clearly see the three areas that had been pointed out and also an illustration of what to expect. So this one did actually come down within this area here. The market started to take off to the upside. If you can't see here, you will see that there was some sign of a big boy starting to show up. I was actually waiting on this one as well, as I was looking at the Great British Pound against the Australian dollar. But this one, unfortunately, didn't give a pullback. So I was waiting to see after the big boys showed up, we were going to get the market coming back in within here. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. And you can see that the market took off to the upside, tapped within that area. The sellers reacted. And you can see that the market came down within here. Maybe it could have been a good entry early morning, somewhere within this region at around 4 thereabouts. But unfortunately, I don't think any of us were on the charts at that point in time. So let's wait and see if we can't get the next best opportunity. The market seems to be starting to get into some sort of a range within here. So that being the case, and if that's the structure, then we definitely know the best area to look for the buys is down within here. So let's wait and see if we can't get the market coming back in somewhere as close as possible within here. It can. And if it does end up doing that, then I think there could be some very good buying opportunity that could possibly end up happening within here. So we'll have to wait and see. In case that doesn't happen, then we'll wait and see if we can get a breach of structure to the upside of that range. So moving on into the next one, this is the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. So you can see the three regions there. Also illustrations of what we were expecting. So price was here. We're expecting price to come back in within there. Just came shy of that region, turned to the downside, bounced off this area. You can see that the buyers really pushed the market to the upside quite aggressively. The sellers attempted to contain the buyers, but it's like the buyers really stepped up, within this region quite aggressively. And you can see that later on, the market did actually end up reaching to the upside. So the sellers have reacted and they pushed the market down. I guess that this one also, the market did need to go high up there to close and to breach that gap. And that has already happened, but you can see that the market is back within some sort of a buyer's region. The buyers within here have reacted, they pushed the market to the upside. So we will be waiting to see what happens. Hopefully the market comes up slowly back within this region. If that does end up happening, I think there could be a good sell that might end up happening off this area here. Maybe we could be on the pullback during the London session. Then at around 5:30, price could be somewhere within there. If that doesn't end up happening, then I guess we'll have to wait and see if we can get a breach of this region to the downside. If we do get a nice strong breach, market comes back in within here, then I think at that point in time, we could attempt some selling opportunities. But any selling opportunities that you take within these regions here, you really need to watch out for your risk, because you could easily end up getting stopped out unless you're a real sniper and a real ninja on the charts and you can, really read the detail of what exactly is going on. You could easily end up getting stopped out on those attempts because the market might possibly need to end up going back, to those sellers at the top. So moving on into the next one, this is the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. So for this one, also a currency pair we had yesterday. We're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities on this one. Can't see the three areas that Mitch had pointed out, also illustrations of what we're expecting. So for this one as well, unfortunately, our expectations were not quite met. It's like the market really needed to come all the way to within this area to close the gap. So the whole of yesterday, you can't see that the market was on the pullback. Today is when the sellers have kind of showed up. So we'll be waiting to see if they can actually end up sustaining, their fight and actually push the buyers back down. But we'll have to end up waiting to see whether we can also end up getting some good prices. So right now where the market is in terms of a sell, this is a horrible price. So we'll possibly need to end up getting more of a discount. We can get the price coming back in somewhere as close as possible within here. I think there could be some good selling opportunities within there. Because in any case, you can see that even yesterday, let's put it like that, because with this gap right here, we can assume that this is a massive red candle coming down. And if you look at where the sellers started to push down from, is somewhere within this region here. So you can see that even when the market came back in within here, the sellers have pushed the market down. So at least you want to get some prices as close as possible within this region here. If that does happen, then well, but remember, in case the market breaks and holds above that, there will be no trade. Alternatively, in case the market breaks to the downside of this area, we do get confirmation that the market is actually holding to the downside. At that point in time, we'll definitely be trying to see whether we can get some conservative selling opportunities. So moving on into the next one and the last one, this is the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar. So for this one, this is a new entrant on our watch list. We'll be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities on this one. These are the three areas that we will be watching out for. So hopefully you can end up taking note of them. So let's see what happens. Right now, the market just seems to have just broken beneath this region to the downside, but we're not really clear of the woods, because you can see that the market has actually come back in within this region and the buyers have still been able to push the market to the upside. So the fact that the market has come back in within here, you still could find that the market could come back to the upside of this area. If that does end up happening and the market holds, there's a possibility price will be coming back in within here. And I do hope that it does, because at least with this pullback coming in, lots of people who are hitting the sells down here will definitely get stopped out. And when the market starts to come back up, many of them are going to start looking for the buying opportunities, not aware of the overall story, what's going on. Because also for this one, just like we looked at the euro against the Canadian dollar, there's a strategic level here that was breached. You can see that the market was in a range. The market broke to the downside. It never retested this region right here. So there's a possibility price might come back in within this area here. So this one is identical to the euro against the Canadian dollar. So taking into consideration the story is very key when it comes to trading. Unfortunately, many people don't. They just follow what's happening here, but they miss out, on the overall story of what's going on. So we'll wait and see what does end up happening on this one. But of course, if you do see the pullback happening on that one, also have a look at the euro against the Canadian dollar. And also, the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. It doesn't hurt. You could also end up looking at it. If you see something similar on all of them, then I guess it's the big boys who are in action. So that's pretty much it in terms of the currency pairs. So hopefully you've taken note of that. So we can move on to the indices and the commodities. So we're going to start off with the NAS 100. Move on to the Dow Jones, then silver and gold. You can see that there isn't much change on that front. So starting off with the US 100 on the NAS 100. So for this one, yesterday we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. So you can see the three regions there that Mitch had pointed out. So also illustrations of what we expect. So price was somewhere here. And of course, there was an expectation maybe the market could close the gap. It did actually pull back. So it pulled back the whole of yesterday, coming back in within that region there. And you can see that the sellers have started to react. This is during the Asian session. So we'll be waiting to see what does end up happening. So let's see if we can get the price coming back in somewhere as close as possible within this region here. And I'm really hoping that we get that price maybe coming back in within here, because I think the best sells are still possibly somewhere within this region right here. You can see those wicks happening at the bottom right here. The buyers have pushed up from here. So I guess it's them who are possibly retaliating, off that region right there. So especially with those weeks, there's a possibility you could find the market coming back in. Even if it doesn't get all the way till within there, even if we get the price coming back in, maybe somewhere till within this region or somewhere within here, generally we want to get the price as close as possible within this area. But remember that in case the market breaks and holds above this region to the upside, then at that point in time, the selling opportunities are over. And we can't start to look for the buying opportunities more confidently. So you still can't look for the buys. You just need to be aware that the buying opportunities that you're looking for are countered. We did see, I think it was Metrin who did get quite a number of buys, I think on the NAS 100 going up, which is okay. And of course, well managed the situation. But remember that the overall story, the sellers are still in control. They can't come in at any given point in time without any warning. So looking at the next one, this is the US 30 or the Dow Jones. So for this one, yesterday the bus was to try to see whether we could get sales. Unfortunately, there wasn't much of sales yesterday. Just like we've looked at majority of the currency pairs yesterday, most of them were actually going back up to close the gaps. So I guess that was the game plan of what the big boys were possibly doing yesterday. So let's see if today we will be lucky. So you can see that the market has also hit some sort of a resistance area right at the top right there. We can see some reaction happening, just like we've seen on many of the currency pairs as well. So the market has come down. Similar to the NAS 100, the market is back within some sort of a buyer's region. The buyers are reacting. You can see some sort of an inside bar with wicks there. There's a possibility price might actually end up coming back in within this region, but we need to see a slow reaction of the buyers coming back up within there. If they do end up taking off from within here quite aggressively, then I guess we'll have a problem on our hands. So just make sure that you watch out for that. But of course, remember also for this one, in case the market breaks and holds above this region to the upside, and you get that confirmation, then at that point in time, we'll be trying to see whether we can get buying opportunities and selling opportunities will be off. So moving on into the second last thing that we look at, which is silver. Now for silver yesterday, the bus was to try to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. So you can see the three areas there and also what the game plan was. Price was somewhere here in the morning. We're expecting maybe to get price coming back in within these regions here. Just came shy of that area, but you can see that also based on the illustration that Mitch had, it was expecting price to possibly tap back within this region. You can see that there was this week that tapped back in within this area quite fast. Price came back up. Maybe some proper buys could have happened off this area right here going to the upside. So for this one, I guess it moved in a very choppy manner. Hasn't really gone high above and past the areas that we had pointed out. And that's the reason why it's more or less the same, but at least the buying opportunities were more or less kind of working out although not really the clearest. But of course, I know Bravin is a real sniper on the charts. Good to see that you got some good buying opportunities on this one, and of course, manage the situation. So for this one, the levels are the same. The game plan is the same. In terms of looking for the buys, right now it's a horrible idea. It's only up maybe if we can possibly get the market breaking above this region to the upside, then maybe we could try and continue moving to the upside. If that doesn't end up happening, then maybe if the buyers do need a much better price, there's a possibility we could get the market coming back in within here. And if that does happen, then you'll find that during the US session, especially if the market does set itself up and we're back within this region after it does all this shenanigans, then I think at that point in time, we could attempt buying opportunity on this one. So also watch out for this region at the bottom. In case the big boys do actually need that price, then at least we also should be ready for that. So moving on into the last thing, which is gold. Now for gold, yesterday the bars was to try to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. So you can't see the three areas that Mitch had pointed out. So the red SNR was here, the other two yellow lines were here. In the morning, price was here. We're expecting maybe some sort of a pullback within this region here for us to attempt the buys, maybe something that needed to be read on a smaller time frame. The detail is not very clear on the 15-minute time frame, but you can see that the market did actually push to the upside. Price came in within this region here. These sellers attempted to retaliate, but it seems that the buyers continued to push the market to the upside. I guess even that detail within there needed to be read on a smaller time frame because it's also not very clear on this time frame. But it seems that the buyers really maintained their onslaught onto the sellers within this region, and you can see that they were eventually taken out, and the market did actually break to the upside. So for this one, for today, these are the levels we're going to be watching out for. The market seems to have formed some sort of a resistance area there. Remember that gold is making history right now. It's actually the highest it's actually ever been when it actually came up and hit this 28 level. So if we even end up going up the daily, you will see that the market is at the high heights, that the highest it's ever been, like forever. So of course we're keeping up with the story of what's going on. So right now, just looking at what's happened here, it definitely seems that there's some sort of a resistance area. You know that the market has formed within there, some sort of a support region within there, but you know that the buyers down here are actually in control and actually pushing the market to the upside. So right now, the market is back in within some sort of a buyer's region, which is good. The sellers have come down slowly. You can clearly see that. Let's see if we can get the market giving us some sort of a price action signal, maybe that sort of last incitement within that area. You know, maybe the sellers really tapping into that buyer's region before we do get these buyers within here, maybe reacting, and we could get a massive and a monster reaction happening off that region there. But generally, these are the three areas. Also watch out for the region at the bottom. In case the market comes back in within that area, then we also should be ready to try and see whether we can get some buying opportunities if we do get the opportunity. In case the market breaks and holds beneath that region to the downside, then unfortunately at that point in time, the buys will be off. But at least the good news is that we can start to look for selling opportunities. So I guess that's pretty much it in terms of everything. So hopefully everyone has taken note of everything that we have discussed. So I guess I can end up looking at the chat box. Seems to have quite a lot of chit chat. So I see Daniel Simiu there. Good to see you, Dan Bickett. You're saying good morning, Afriforex team. Good to see you. Karibu Sana. George Chege. You're saying good morning, Afriforex team. Good morning back to you. And of course, shout out to you, by the way, on your trade. That was really, really well done. So you're asking, how can one tell that the currency is undervalued or overvalued when trading? To be honest, it's actually not very easy to tell, because you know it's not very easy to determine you know what the big boys are doing and stuff. And in any case, us guys are not analysts, so whether a currency pair is undervalued or overvalued for us, it doesn't really matter, because if you think about it, whether the market is going to be going down, we're going to be making money, you know, for as long as you're following with what's going on. If the market is going up, you definitely know that, you know, you're just going to be following what's going on. So I think it's very hard. I don't think it's very easy to actually end up knowing whether it's undervalued or overvalued. To be honest, I can't quite tell you how to end up doing that. But maybe if I do end up doing a bit more research, maybe we can possibly end up finding more about that. But that's a very interesting question. So I see Doba Africa, you're asking, hello, morning, John, would you advise on using candlesticks? In what sense? Advise in terms of what? In terms of reading the story, or in terms of what exactly are you talking about in terms of using candlesticks? But in case you're asking in terms of reading the story, candlesticks do actually end up telling a story. And that's the reason why you see that when you look at the charts, candlesticks come in different forms, different shapes, different sizes. So when you end up putting them together, they actually give you a story. Like when you end up seeing wicks, that definitely tells you that there's pressure from the opposite side, that's coming in. And I know that things such as pin bars, those are the most recognized candlesticks on the charts. Beginners, they know, especially when you start off with what is it called? Baby pips. Many people know if you see a pin bar within a support region, it definitely means that it's a buy. Or if you see an inverted hammer, within a resistance region, then it means that it's a sell. But there's more to it. You can't just look at one candlestick to give you the overall direction of the market. It's a story. So you see, like, for example, even within here, just a good example, the market is back within a support region. Within this support region, you can see that there was a pin bar right here. For many people who are beginners, they'd actually think that this pin bar would actually mean that the market is actually going up. So, of course, it's within some sort of a buyer's region. Within this area here, we have that pin bar there. This would possibly end up signaling that the market would go up. But it's the overall story. If you look at how that seller had actually stepped up within this particular region right here, or stepped down within that region there before the pin bar happened, maybe had the market come in a bit slower, maybe the market would have gone up. So that just proves to tell you that, when it comes to reading the story of price and price action, and I mean, for us, we've perfected it over time. It's the overall story of what's going on. It's not purely based on one candle. That's the reason why you'll find that such kind of scenarios like this one, many people do actually end up getting stopped out because they think that, yeah, there's a pin bar within a buyer's region, there's an inside bar, but how did the market get there? It's very important for you to factor in, how did the market get within a particular region? It's very, very important. So I hope that does end up answering your question, but I also see that you're also asking also how many trades are advisable per session, per day. Sometimes I get so many trades, I feel like I'm over trading. Well, that's a problem that very many traders do actually end up getting into. And it takes discipline and time, to be honest. But you also need to be very picky in terms of your trades. Like personally, in as much as we end up looking at all these currency pairs for today, I'll possibly end up getting maybe one or two or three trades maximum. Reason being, I'm very picky in terms of the trades that I take. And the main thing that you really need to watch out for, especially even if, let's say, for example, very many currency pairs have showed up and all of them look good, they potentially won't give you the same risk to reward. There are some trades that will carry lesser risk than others, and there are some that will give you much better risk to reward than others. So for me personally, I look at the currency pairs or the trades or the setups that will give me the best risk to reward. Because remember, when it comes to trading, you want the best return on investment. So if you're gonna be possibly going by that route, and maybe that's what I would advise, just make sure that you factor in which currency pairs or which setups are giving you the best risk to rewards, and possibly those are the ones you should end up going for. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, the risk to reward is what is going to keep you in the game. So that's what you need to factor in. And I guess if you end up doing that, that will help you filter and will take out some of the trades, and maybe that could actually end up curbing your over trading. But also on the other hand, make sure that you also watch out for your entry criteria, because also if you're very strict, like personally, I'm very strict, and also, I mean, the guys in the Afriforex team, we're very strict in terms of our entry criteria, in terms of what we're looking out for. So unless the market shows us exactly what we need, and it's very highly unlikely that all the setups will show you exactly what you need. In case that doesn't end up happening, then you automatically know that, those are trades that you should not be taking when they don't end up meeting the criteria. So make sure also that you work out on your entry criteria. I think if you end up doing that, I think that will also help you filtering out in terms of your over trading. So I hope that's what's out, but I can see that there was also a lot of chit chat and also a lot of input from the team as well. And I hope that that does end up helping you. So I see you are also asking what when day trading, what time frame is best for looking out for the candles. The 15 minute is okay. I mean, if you're day trading, because if you go up a higher time frame, then there's a possibility you will get into swing. So for us, we use the 15-minute time frame. The reason why we go down to the 15, because if you look at the levels that we've set, they're very clear on the 1 hour time frame. So it's basically like we're trading the 1 hour time frame, but we go down to the 15-minute time frame to get more detail, especially to see how the buyers and the sellers are really fighting in the market, so that we can get those precision entries. Because you see, it's a bit hard when you end up using the 1 hour time frame. So maybe all you'll end up seeing when the market comes back in within here is some sort of a week, and that's it. But you see now when you're using the 15-minute time frame, you'll actually see the struggle of the buyers and the sellers within this particular region. And of course, now we can now also end up going down to the 3-minute time frame just to even see more detail, especially when the market comes back in within this area, just to really try and get those really tight stops. Get those proper risk to rewards, and I know that I've repeated risk to reward very many times, but that's the heart of keeping you in the game. For as long as you get good trades, get proper risk to rewards. I mean, if you get, let's say, a trade that gives you a risk to reward of 1:3, 1:4, 1:5, one trade is enough. You don't really need to end up taking 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 trades. You just need to get one very good setup. It meets all your criteria. You read the story. You got it at the perfect time, because also timing is very key, because like we always keep on pointing out, when it comes to trading, there are 3 aspects: DTM, direction, timing, money management. You can get the direction correct, but if you miss out on the timing, there's a possibility you will still end up getting stopped out, even if the market is going to be moving in your favor. So direction, very key. At least that one we already know. Like, for example, on silver, we know that we're going up. The direction is to go up. Timing, we know that we're timing the buys somewhere around this region right here. So when the market comes in within here, now it's up to the time frames and how good you can end up reading now to really know at exactly what point will you be hitting that buying opportunity. And of course, now the money management, where now you have to end up factoring in your stop losses, how much are you willing to risk on that setup, and so on and so forth. So I guess the 15-minute is good, but of course the story is derived from the 1 hour time frame. So if you're intraday trading, I guess 15 is good. If you're swing trading now, you have to go up to the 4 hour and the daily time frames, and that means that also your patience has to also be high up there, because those setups, they don't really end up showing up as quickly as the day trade type of setups. So I hope that sorts you out, but some good chit chat going on, some good questions. Hope everything that and the feedback that we've given you is satisfactory, but I can't see that there was also a lot of chit chat from our team as well. So I guess that's pretty much it from me and from us. I'm not really seeing anything more. I want to thank everyone so much for making the time to be here with us. Remember, if you do need more information in terms of trading, our contact details are there. Also, the Amplified program is back. You can end up signing up for that as well. There should be a link in the video description that should guide you there. It doesn't cost you anything to book yourself onto the waiting list, and we'll definitely end up hitting you up, and we'll see how best we can end up making that happen. Also, remember, if you need a trading account, you also can end up getting one. You can end up trying Insta brokers. They're good. We've tried them out. There should be a link in the video description as well. If you do get any trades, also feel free to send them in to us. We'll be more than happy to showcase them tomorrow. Also, remember to give us a like and a subscribe. So I guess that's pretty much it from me. I guess we'll see you guys tomorrow. So with that, happy trading, guys, and bye for now. God bless, and may the pips be with you.